Welcome to r/MaliciousCompliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter but not the spirit of request. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story, child received his item for free. The second story, team leaders think they know everything about a program. I provide them with a quiz in front of all their consultants, and they fail miserably. The third story, customer demanded I transfer him to a man. Keeps getting transferred back to me until he loses it and calls me a W. The first story is, want a $150 cosplay accessory for free? Alright. About a year ago, a good friend of mine got me into cosplay props after showing me a how-to guide on making a replica of a rifle I enjoyed in an FPS I played, and after that, I just sort of worked on cosplay stuff on and off. I was never the best at it, but I did try. Eventually, I began to sell some pre-made props and such for money. Prop weapons, masks, robotic arms and stuff. It's pretty much stuff people could easily make with the experience and know-how, and I'm pretty dang sure that a lot of folks will know what happens next. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of posting some images of some of the stuff I made online, and through those posts came an obnoxious preteen that we'll call LS, for little sh. Our talks started pretty normally. He'd comment on some of my posts, and always leave positive feedback, but then he decided to message me privately. LS started off all cool and the like, and asked if I was open for a commission. Sure, I could use some cash. He asked for my Discord and I gave it to him. We talked there. Our conversation went something like this. LS, hi, I loved your lever action rifle prop. I was wondering if you could make one for me, but like this. He sends me a picture of a pretty basic lever action from an FPS RPG. Me, that seems simple enough. I'll look at the material I have on hand and give you a price estimate. I had most of the stuff I'd need. PVC, foam, hot glue, paint and such. LS, alright, cool. Me, okay, I have most of the stuff, so it'll be cheaper. You said you lived in X state? LS, yes I do. I live in X state in Y city and Z address. Me, alright, I can make it and ship it for a combined cost of $150. LS didn't respond for about an hour after that. I honestly had no idea that he was so young, as he was pretty polite and didn't really come off as immature. Suddenly I got a call request. Odd, but alright. Some clients preferred to speak to me physically. What I heard was not only LS, but his mother, who we'll call BM for B-Mom. BM, are you the guy trying to take money from my son? Okay, I have to explain it to her, great. Me, he's trying to buy a foam replica firearm. The cost of the prop and shipping would come to $150. BM, it's just some cheap foam toy, and I will not pay $150 for it. Me, ma'am, this is a handmade custom-ordered prop. $150 is pretty cheap for this sort of thing. BM, I can go to Walmart and buy the exact same thing for $10. I don't care what you do, but you're gonna make that toy for my son and get it here, and we're not paying. LS, yeah, we're not paying for it. They both began to shout at me after that. I put it together pretty quickly. This kid whined to his mother about wanting one of my props, labeled me as the bad guy, and now his B of a mother was on my case. Yeah, I was gonna take this lying down. After about 10 minutes of trying to drill it into this woman's thick skull, that I will not make this for free, something in me snapped. I said fine, I'll do it, no charge. They hung up, and I set to work. I hastily cut a huge misshapen block of foam with my pocket knife, and glued a long piece of scrap PVC to it until it was vaguely rifle-shaped. I didn't bother to carve it. I didn't even put any sort of lever or trigger on it. I didn't even paint it. I made it as cheaply and as haphazardly as possible. This kid wanted a free prop? This kid wanted to whine to his mother and insult my handiwork? Honestly, the prop itself would have only cost $80. The extra $70 would have been for shipping, as he lived quite a distance away from me, and shipping would have kicked my A. I'd been ready to make this prop for this kid, but LS had outright admitted to telling his mother that I was some thief in an attempt to get her to scare me into doing this. I felt insulted. I felt disgusted. Finally, my payback was complete. I'd complied. I did as BM wanted. I'd made her son a free prop rifle with the flimsiest heck stock. A cheap warped PVC barrel, no paint, no finer details. Nope, she wanted free, so she was getting the bare bones. She never said it had to be 100% complete. She only said that she wanted a toy gun for her son for free. A day or two later, I contacted LS and told him that his rifle was done and being sent out. His response? It's about time. As a final FU to the two, I burned the foam of the stock with my hot glue gun, deforming it even further, before packaging it up and shipping it off. That was the last I heard of it until 2 weeks later, when I got a Discord call request. Oh, it's from LS. I'll answer. BM, what the F is this? This isn't what my son LS wanted. Me, ma'am, you wanted a free prop rifle for your son. You didn't specify that it had to be the exact one your son wanted. BM, you B, don't turn my words on their head. Me, well, here's the thing, ma'am. I would have been happy to negotiate the price if you couldn't pay the full $150. You wanted free, so I gave you what's free in life, trash. LS was crying and I heard it. BM was livid, and I knew it. Before I hung up, I snicked and stated, quite clearly, you wanted a free prop for your spawn. I gave you a free prop. After I hung up, I blocked LS and removed them from my Discord, and made sure to notify the moderators of a cosplay-based Discord channel I was in about what happened, and he was promptly banned from the room. I told a few friends, who wanted me to be angry, but I was too busy laughing. Eventually, they laughed too. It's been about 6 months since this happened, and I decided to look it again recently, only to find that LS is now doing props himself. He's still learning, and I would say that I'm somewhat proud of him. Yes, I'm still a bit agitated at the memory, but he seemed to learn from it. The next story is proving to upper management they are incompetent. I worked at a call center for an insurance company. I was a sales and service consultant, looking to move up within the company, so I was always looking to complete additional tasks to improve my chance of gaining the next promotion. As some of you may know, call centers are usually quite toxic and involve micromanaging employees until they hate themselves. This call center was no different. One of the biggest company's focus at the time was our online self-service center, SSC. Basically, it was to assist customers in moving their transactions online so that we didn't have 1,000 calls a day asking for something small, such as a change of registration number or updating the address their vehicle was parked at. Consultants were required to promote, force-feed the SSC to every customer on every call. In the office was roughly 13 team leaders, as well as a senior manager. Each team had roughly 10 to 15 people, so altogether there were about 150 to 200 people on the floor. Each team leader had their own idea of how it should be promoted, and forced that ideology down the throat of their consultants. The most common process was to promote it immediately at the start of the call. You can imagine this was a mess, as you call your insurance company for help, and they tell you to jump online before they even discuss or acknowledge your call, which is frankly extremely rude customer service. Additionally, the consultants never received proper training for the SSC, so they were not 100% sure of what processes you could and could not complete online. So no matter what the customer called for, the consultant would tell them at the start of the call they could complete it online. Now back to me completing additional tasks. I decided to take ownership of the SSC and to help educate my fellow consultants on how we could better promote the online service. I had lengthy conversations with consultants to determine why they were uncomfortable promoting the SSC. And big surprise, there was 2 main reasons. They felt it was rude to promote it at the start of the call, and they did not know what processes you could complete online. I organized a presentation with the team leaders and discussed my findings and asked for their thoughts. I was greeted with a fair bit of tirade, which went along the lines of, "We've taught our consultants the right way. You're just a consultant yourself, so we know better than you do. And until you prove otherwise, we won't listen to your suggestions at all." I had a chat with the senior manager, and I told him that the reason we were experiencing low digital promotion numbers were because the team leaders did not understand the capabilities of the SSC, and were forcing consultants to promote the service, even if you were not sure if their request could be completed online. His exact words were, "Prove it, and I'll take your side on this." I waited until the next big presentation, which included the senior manager, team leaders, and all of their consultants. I requested 10 minutes for a quick presentation on the SSC, and my senior manager agreed, without asking what I was planning to do. Cue the malicious compliance. I created a 20-question true-false quiz on the functionality and capability of the SSC, and handed 1 copy and a pen to each of the team leaders, and asked them to fill it in quickly. The look of horror on each of their faces as they received the quiz and realized they knew nothing about the SSC was amazing to see. Their consultants were all smiling ear to ear, as they could see the point I was trying to prove. 10 minutes later, I read out the answers and got the team leaders to mark the sheet of the person seated next to them. It wasn't a surprise when they read out the name of the team leader and their score. None of them scored more than 10 out of 20. The senior manager was seated in the corner of the room with a little smile on his face as he watched all this unfold. He had a chat to me afterwards and let me go through with the presentation I had planned for the SSC. Digital promotion numbers increased from 13% to 85% within the space of a week. And the last story is, "Of course, sir, let me transfer you." It was my first tour of duty at the mega corporation we affectionately called Big Blue. It was the early 2000s, and I was a lowly entry-level SAN admin, which meant I was responsible for answering the phones, emails, entering changes, all the grunt work for my team. We had a shared environment with 36 24/7 locations around the world and 300 customers, like big-name cola company, and Mouse who likes roller coasters. Most of our customers were good people, but we had a few bad apples. This is the story of how I got one of them fired. So it's a lazy Saturday, and I'm at work with my buddy Kreskin, who's also a senior tech. We had the Saturday shift together for years and had a great time. Few calls, no management, and the only reason we couldn't play WoW was we couldn't get a good signal on an open Wi-Fi across the street. I should also mention that I'm female. Call comes in. I open with my usual greeting. The man on the phone says, "Put a man on the phone. You can't help me." I ask what it's pertaining to, and he repeats his demand. So I go interrupt Kreskin's daydream to let him know some jerk is on the phone refusing my help and wants a man. He rolled his eyes and said to transfer the call. I do so, and I hear his side of the conversation. Kreskin: "Hello, this is Kreskin. How can I help you?" Kreskin: "I do apologize, sir, but unfortunately I'm not able to handle that request. But we do have an expert here who can. Let me put you on hold and I'll transfer you." He put the guy on hold. The guy wanted a simple change entered for his team, something Kreskin could do if he wanted to, but he's not supposed to, as that's my job. So I go back to my desk and pick up the phone. Peach: "Hi, I understand you'd like to open a change. I can help you with that." Customer: No, you cannot. Transfer me to a man. You're useless." Peach: "Okay, well, I can, but he'll probably just send you back to me. Wouldn't it just be easier to give me the info?" Customer: "No, transfer me now." Peach: "Please hold." I walk back to Kreskin's desk, chuckling. He wants to speak to a man, so you're up. Kreskin figured we had nothing better to do and wanted to see how long we could pass him back and forth. I told him to put the guy on speaker so I could hear. He agreed and I transferred the call. Kreskin: "This is Kreskin. How can I assist you today?" Customer: "Oh good, someone who knows what they're doing instead of that idiot woman answering the phones. I'm Jerk, account rep for large customer, and I need an expedited change done immediately." Kreskin: "I do apologize, sir, but I'm not able to assist you. Let me get you over to someone who can." Customer: "No, you will help." Click, on hold, and transfers. I once again pick up the phone and give my spiel in my most perky voice, and all I hear is a roar. "Put a man on the phone!" Being the good customer service rep, I comply. We end up transferring him back and forth 4 more times when he finally loses his mind. Peach: "Thank you for calling Big Blue. I understand you want me to get a change open for you?" Customer: "Listen to me, you diseased W. You'll put a man on the phone this instant. I'll not speak to a bee who can't do her job. Put a man on the phone." Peach: "You can either deal with me or you can speak with my manager on Monday, but I will not take that abuse, and I refuse to assist you further. Please have a good day." Click. We both sent very detailed emails to our boss, and I also sent one over to HR. See, we were both full-fledged employees of Big Blue, and HR, at least in the US, takes a very dim view of such things. He was from another country, but stationed here in the US, and was working on getting his green card. Bummer too, because he only had like a year left before he got it. He was summarily let go and returned home. Thanks for watching. Bye.